Remind me never to complain about the heat of the studio in the morning. It is a crispy Johannesburg morning with that magnificent skyline behind me. I'm standing on the Jojo rooftop on the centre of Maboneng, that right in the middle of Joburg, a place that was supposed to epitomise successful inner city living with an entertainment hub. Now, the place that's known as the Place of Light hasn't seen much of it recently. The company behind it collapsed and COVID-19 hit hard. But there is some light at the end of this tunnel. A development across the way is going to bring the success back. And Lawrence Khoza from the city of Johannesburg is going to tell us all about that. Very good morning to you.
Morning to you, Jane.
Tell us more about what's going to be done to make sure that Maboneng is the success it should be.
No, let me start by saying Maboneng was an important development for the inner city. It came at a time when there was a lot of negativity around the inner city, and it became this model for regeneration. But as you said, it has gone through some difficulties. But we've learned from that experience. And across this development, you have the Jewel City with over 2,700 apartments, fully let retail space. And it has generated a lot of excitement. And our view is that from the lesson of Maboneng, there are good things that are happening across the Jewel City. And
so is the Jewel City attached, excuse me jumping in here, is it attached to Maboneng? How's it going to help lift it up? How will it work alongside it?
It's a neighboring precinct. It's a different precinct, but it's closer to Maboneng. So we're hoping that the good things that are happening in the Jewel City would happen here in Maboneng. Obviously, having learned from the experience that we had here in Maboneng. So we're hoping that what we are seeing in Jewel City will also be seen here in Maboneng.
All right, some of the challenges, I believe, the fact that it wasn't inclusive for all. I mean, there's a certain money bracket involved when it comes to regenerating or gentrification of any area.
Gentrification by its very nature leads to overpricing.
Yeah.
And I think what we saw in Maboneng was that the properties became way too expensive for people around here. And from that experience, I think what we are seeing in Jewel City is different. That you have housing that is inclusive, you have developments that are really attractive to everyone in the inner city. And as the city of Johannesburg, that's something that we appreciate, that's something that we promote, that we have this inclusive city.
What is the appeal of living in the city of Johannesburg? I mean, it's cleaned up in many areas, but it's still got a pretty bad reputation, particularly when it comes to crime.
Well, if you look at metropolitan centers around the world, the inner city really defines the city. So your stock exchanges, your big properties are in the inner city. And we think that Johannesburg should not be immune from that. And our view is that, we need to do more to turn the inner city around. We are investing a lot in terms of attracting investment. We have incentive schemes that are aimed at retaining business here, because it doesn't look good when the big business organizations leave the inner city. So we want companies to come back into the inner city. Those that are still here, we're putting in place incentives to ensure that they are retained in the inner city.
And are they listening to you? Are they going to come back? And how do you also counter the damaging effects of the pandemic?
Look, the pandemic has been serious for the city. We're hoping that the businesses will be retained in the city because of the incentive schemes that we are putting in place. Of course, there have been challenges in the past, but the incentives that we are putting in place and some of the measures that as the city we are putting in place, I think will turn the city around. We are investing a lot in security, because without security, it's difficult to retain business or attract business. So we're putting a lot in terms of security. But we're also ensuring that, you don't regenerate one part of the city, but the entire city, so that it becomes clean, it becomes secure, and from a business point of view, it becomes attractive.
Listen, Johannesburg is a beautiful city, those Art Deco buildings for a start. But remind us of why people would come to Maboneng. I mean, what is its relationship? Why do people from abroad make their way here?
No, we think that, because of the art galleries, the restaurants, the old buildings that have been turned around, the architecture of the area, and the fact that our informal traders have offerings that are not available in other parts of the world. We think that collectively all those things are attractive here in Maboneng. And the fact that the security around the area is adding to the attractiveness of the city.
Yes, I mean, I heard there were some credible credible shows here this weekend in the building that I'm standing. So you really are attracting a high level of talent. But I mean, I guess what's important with this, and it's a message to any other cities, the inclusivity, the sort of low-class housing, the informal traders, all the South African players involved to make one big dream come true.
Look, when you run a municipality, it's important that you are inclusive. You do not want to have parts of the city that actually exclude a lot of communities. And what is exciting about Maboneng is that it's inclusive. It's got inclusionary housing. The restaurants are quite affordable for a lot of people in the area. So we think that it's a model for the regeneration of the city. That is why we would not allow a situation where Maboneng collapses. I think we'll do our part as the city of Johannesburg to ensure that we put in place incentives, we ensure that the place is safe, we ensure that the businesses are profitable, because a thriving Maboneng is important, because we want to see the whole city go through some regeneration going forward. And the model that we've seen here, including the one in the Jewel City precinct, I think in our view would help us regenerate the whole inner city.
I mean, we want it to work. Thank you very much for that, Lawrence. Maboneng really is a blueprint of potential success for any city in Johannesburg. In the next hour, we're going to be speaking to a hotelier about the challenges that he faced during the time of the pandemic and what he did to make sure that this area is going to be a success. Back to you, Tumelo and Nandi.
Thank you very much, Jane. I mean, Maboneng is beautiful, but I do not envy her in that court today.